Engineer Albert Ockel also consulted on the Bering Strait Bridge. He too was skeptical.
You're talking about a location which is a few degrees below the Arctic Circle. So all the temperature conditions, the ice conditions that prevail in the Arctic Circle are present there. The winds are so strong that they could blow a truck off of the bridge. It's that bad.
The area around the strait is one of the most desolate places on Earth. The Alaska side is almost totally barren. In such a bleak environment, simple survival is a challenge.
You know, that land up there is just nothing but marshes. It's lakes after lake after lake, interrupted by some very small bands of tundra.
There are no highways, no railroads, no major flights. No factories, construction yards, or suppliers. The few villages are tiny and far apart. The nearest town of any size is almost 100 miles away. And the Siberian side is even more remote. So by itself, the Bering Strait Bridge would lead from nowhere to nowhere. That's why the plans call for thousands of miles of new highways and rail lines leading up to the bridge from both sides. This new Arctic corridor would span 4,000 miles, from central Siberia to southern Canada. That's the same distance as Chicago to London. It would link the great population centers of Europe and Asia with those of the United States and the Western Hemisphere.
It would be a very large commitment, and probably the cost of those connections would be many times, maybe 3 to 4 times of what the bridge itself would cost.
That cost could reach $105 billion, 5 times the gross national product of many small nations. Would such a vast investment be worth it? Earlier projects may offer clues. Construction on the Trans-Alaskan Pipeline began in the 1970s. The pipeline runs 800 miles through some of the world's most forbidding terrain and crosses 3 mountain ranges before ending up at the port of Valdez on Alaska's south coast. But it begins in Prudhoe Bay, 600 miles north of the Bering Strait. Weather conditions here are extreme. Wind chills can plunge to 135 degrees below. A human being without proper protection could die out here in less than a minute. Before work could begin on the pipeline, the infrastructure had to be built. Access roads, landing strips, and housing for thousands of workers. Over 500,000 tons of steel pipe were shipped in. Work went on around the clock for 3 years, at a final cost of $8 billion. Today, nearly 1 million barrels of crude oil and natural gas flow through the pipeline every day. But a Bering Strait Bridge would be far more costly, far more difficult to build than even the Alaska pipeline. Its designers would need to solve an enormous problem, one the pipeline builders didn't face. ice. One of the most powerful and deadly forces in nature.